Raghav.
Hey Anish, drawdown is also a part of life, my friend.
So Raghav, I just joined this session, no, or signed on to this session this week. So is it that earlier session we have to go through the recording and then listen to you live, or how is it?
Yeah, so the way this has been structured is, I'm uh, in every session I'm going over the building blocks. Okay, so when we started with, and there's a lot of, see, like when you think about trading, it's not just कि यार indicator लगाया, order fire कर लिया. What I'm trying to show you guys is the lens with which professional option traders look at trading, right? So there are certain principles of trading in general, and then there are certain principles of trading associated with options. And what I'm trying to do is, I'm like, the goal here is to get you to start thinking about trading with a volatility lens, because all professional option traders trade options using volatility, but also uh, to equip you with the general trading principles that are also required in order to be a successful trader, but applied in an options context. I hope that makes sense. So every lesson, what I'm doing is I'm just telling you about each of these building blocks, each of these components, and all of these lessons will build up towards this one particular edge that exists in the market, which is called the volatility risk premium. And I want to sort of just like build up to that. Ki, hey, here is this edge that exists in the market, and how do we look at this particular edge? How do we harness it? How do we manage the risk associated with it? Um, so actually putting the trade on and managing the trade, understanding the risks that come with it, accepting those risks, and then managing it so that in the long run, we end up making money in this particular edge at least. Um, that is bringing everything we've talked about in these lessons together right towards the end. So I try to keep these lessons interactive. All the lectures are there in order, and I'm anticipating this class, and then maybe the class after that should be enough to get us to a stage where we can actually start trading this particular edge. Okay, so this class and the next class will be again on a Friday evening, and then the last class where I actually put this trade on. I'll put this trade on, and then maybe a week later we'll do another session where we look at how the trade has evolved. That we'll do possibly during market hours. Once this iteration is done, I'm going to run this iteration again. I know a lot of you guys have just joined, right? So a lot of you guys joined maybe like 10 days ago as well. So once this iteration is over, I'm going to rerun this iteration, rerun this course again. Yeah, and people who've taken this course the first time around, you're welcome to join in for the second iteration for free. That's there's no stopping. At some point, I'll record it and I'll make it pre-recorded. But abhi ke liye, I'm sort of enjoying the conversation. I'm also sort of getting an idea of what kind of backgrounds you guys have. Right. So does that answer your question, Anish?
Now maybe we'll just go through the previous recording and catch up with you in the live session.
Sure. Sure, man. Sure.
So, Raghav, I in fact joined the week before last week. I missed out on your class because I just got mixed up with Chintan's class and yours, right?
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, but I, reviewed all your recordings so far. I think there are four. This is the fifth one. So that way I'm up to speed. Just one thing I wanted to ask, right? See, there's a volatility spike that happened today because of, I don't know if it is because of 20th Trump's voting in, right? So would you consider that as an opportunity for us to look into that unnatural move in VIX to actually, trigger a trade for a 20th or 21st?
I think there was a drop in, I think Nifty went down a bit, right? Ekdam se there was a sharp
Right.
move down.
14 to 16 and then closed at around 15 point something.
So see, there's a couple of things happening here. if I have to be very technical, VIX is sort of like a weighted average calculation of two expiries. Okay, so is the what does VIX mean? VIX is essentially, I'm assuming everybody knows what IV is. We covered it in one of our lessons. I think it was lesson number 2. So VIX is sort of an average IV, standardized to 30 days. So what does that mean? That means that the Jan expiry has, let me actually just show you in my screen. One sec. Yeah, I wasn't trading intraday today. I was, in fact, I just opened up my position today. Well, at least trading manually. My algos kind of just run on their own and I don't really manage them anymore. Somebody from the team manages them, and I have like a lot of broker accounts. So I have like 20 different broker accounts. So kisme kya chal raha hai, I'm usually not, I usually just look at it at the end of the week. Hey, how's trading going? Like, but manually what I had done was and the reason I'm trading manually is just for the sake of this class. I'm putting on the hat of a retail trader. And just trying to think, okay, if I'm learning options from scratch, if I'm learning vol trading from scratch, how should I start thinking about my positions and how should I practice putting these positions on and managing risk? So one sec, let me just share my screen real quick. Dashboard. Okay, so let me show you what. So there's a, see, I'm just being like, I'll make sure, I'll try to answer this question very, very precisely. ठीक है, तो VIX की जो calculation है, last I checked, VIX is a 30-day average. ठीक है, and it's calculated using monthly options. So you guys can see my screen, right?
Yes.
So what's happening in the VIX is it's a calculation of, loosely speaking, it's a sort of an average between this like 14.4 and 27th Feb की expiry का this 15.5. ठीक है, it's sort of, I'm saying it's sort of an average. The thing to understand is it's an average between IVs of two expiries weighted by like normalize them so that like we don't have a 30-day expiry right now, right? We have a 41-day expiry in monthly options and we have a 13-day expiry in monthly options. So VIX is sort of their average, which is normalized to 30 days. But here I'm showing you at the money average. It's actually an average of these नीचे की puts. ठीक है, नीचे की puts, ऊपर की calls. So it's like this complex calculation. But it gives us a good idea that when a lot of implied volatilities rise, right? You'll see a spike in VIX because VIX is what is a derived calculation from all these different implied vols. Now, if there's like a parallel shift in the curve, okay, let me explain that a little bit easier. Essentially, volatilities go up, IVs go up. If there's a spike in IV, yes, VIX will go up. Usually, what happens? I've done some analysis in the past. I can share it with you in the next algo test and custom, Harshit. Like it has just a bunch of different stuff. Anyway, so when there's a dip in the market, there's a general sort of behavior of IVs that IVs tend to rise. Every time the sharper the move in the market, the sharper is the increase in IVs. Right now, spike at the end of the day is just an English word, right? It just means that, hey, there's a sudden increase. Now, whether you want to sell at that spike or not, that's a trading decision that you have to make, right? You probably shouldn't sell at every spike because if something spikes from, let's say, even if we look at COVID, right? Like VIX went from 20 to 30 initially. Had you sold saying, hey, 20 is a 30 ho gaya, chalo becho. Had you sold at 30, VIX went all the way up to 80. Right? So I hope that answers your question. Like a spike is there. It doesn't mean you should sell or it doesn't mean you should buy. every spike is kind of it has its own story behind it. Some are good for selling, some are not. But like we're not like this course is not about this course is not about, hey, let's identify some spikes and decide whether to sell or not. Though that is a valid strategy. I think ऐसा नहीं है कि it's not a valid strategy. This course is more about, as a beginner option trader, somebody who's just learning vol trading, how can you find something that is documented to be profitable in the long run? And like, how can you execute trades to capture that particular edge that exists in the market, which is this risk premium, this volatility risk premium. Right?
Understood.
So there's two things that are happening in this course. One is, and the inception of this course was, I had shared some videos on YouTube at some point where I was saying, I'm taking this VRP weekly trade. I'm taking this VRP weekly trade, guys. And I used to just get questions, okay, what is this VRP? What is this VRP? Show us how to do it. It's like, hey, before I teach you what VRP is, you need to know what the V in the VRP actually stands for, right? Which is the volatility or variance. And if you start looking at options from the lens of volatility, it creates an entire new way of looking at options and putting positions on and actually trading and making money. Also managing risk, right? So, and that's how professional option traders think. Like, I was actually surprised when I had moved to India and, I started talking to retail customers. Nobody really had an idea of IV. Nobody looked at the market that way. Everybody was just operating in price space. So anyway, let's start with today's lesson, guys. We have a good amount to cover. So let me okay. So we just want to recap a little bit. So we'll do this recap every class because every class kind of builds up on material we've covered in the past. So batao, guys, if IV is less than RV, is the option buyer or option seller going to make money? Just post it in the chat, guys. I'll just fill it right now if you guys are. Does anybody remember? Nobody remembers. Guys, okay. Yes, Nitin, thanks. Correct, guys, correct. So yeah, so like I'm expecting, see, what I'm teaching you guys in this class is barely going to scratch the surface of volatility trading. It's yeah, so the first answer is seller. Sorry, no, wait. If IV is less than RV, the option buyer will make money. Correct. First option is buyer, second option is seller. Okay, correct, Shekhar. Shakti, you can stick around and you can watch the old videos and then watch this again. There will be some stuff that you'll not probably understand, but feel free to stick around, man. So yes, so in the first case, we know okay, bhai, the option buyer will make money. In the second case, the option seller will make money in the long run, right? This is what drives our PNL. It's these two magic numbers. Okay. Again, like what it also means is that making money means being profitable in the long run, expressed through and my average profit per trade. Individual profits and losses will even out, and what I will be left with is my average profit per trade, right? Individual trades will also lead to losses. ऐसा नहीं है कि I'm going to have a 100% win rate, right? So this is one part of the recap. Then the second part of the recap is this guy, which is my volatility risk premium, right? So here, what I'm seeing is this is Nifty ki history, but this is the case for all major indices. US may SPY maybe it's a similar story. Dow Jones, similar story. Any index you look at, there is this existence of this guy, which is called the VRP. So my IV is in blue, my RV is in red. And what you'll see is most of the times IV is greater than RV over the life of the option. So IV is market's prediction. Okay, what will the RV be over the life of the option? And then RV is the actually what happened, right? One is I'm predicting something, and the other is, okay, this is what happened. Now you check what happened with your prediction and see if you were right or wrong, right? And what we understand is that more often than not, the market overestimates its prediction. The market tends to think, okay, IV is greater than RV. Like that's what the market's assessment has been, looking at historical data. And we've also covered, theoretical reasons why this is the case. There is a reason why this is the case, why IV is greater than RV. If I have to quantify it, again, let me qualify that IV greater than RV on average, not all the time, right? There are periods where RV becomes really, really high as well. So this is sort of an average of that data of Nifty over, I don't know, like 5 years, 6 years. And what you'll see is this VRP, which is essentially my IV minus RV. Most of the time, this is greater than 0, right? It doesn't matter what my IV levels are. Even this last decile, which covers that COVID period, on average, it made money. Like it made sense to just be a wall seller if you could manage your risk. Like we know, so we know it exists as compensation for risk associated with being short options, right? Like that's what we saw in the previous lessons, that we are being rewarded for taking this risk. Now that we are taking this risk, we need to be able to manage this risk, right? And then in the last lesson, we saw that there is this thing known as variance in my PNL. My profit, whatever my volatility, basically like my PNL, which is my average profit per trade, also comes with a standard deviation. And the higher the standard deviation, the more the chance that even though my average profit per trade in theory is positive, but I could just get unlucky and I could end up with a loss. Right? Everybody's clear on this, right? So I spent the entire last session just talking about this variance in your PNL. You don't want that fluctuation. You don't want that halchal in your PNL. You want it to be as smooth as possible, because adding variance adds that noise. Having this high standard deviation creates that noise that can make you unlucky. Like even if you found something that works, a strategy with high variance, high standard deviation will essentially create a situation where you get unlucky, and it'll happen more often than not, right? So given the choice, we'd like to avoid variance, and this is not an option concept, right? I showed it to you in a coin tossing context. We played a coin tossing game, a betting game. I showed it to you in that context. I showed it to you in an options context, but this is true in the context of any kind of trading, even in investing, right? I'm going to do a sort of deep dive on investing in mutual funds at some point. Not in this course, but at a different time. Wahan pe bhi, you want to avoid variance. You want to avoid standard deviation because it has a negative effect on your PNL. Just want to make sure I covered everything here. Yeah, so variance or standard deviation is like one way of quantifying risk, right? Like there's other ways to quantify risk as well. For people familiar with the AlgoTest platform, the backtester, the original backtester product, it shows other risk metrics as well. So for example, it shows max drawdown, right? So that's another measure of risk. There's a study, I can't recall who had done it. I'll share it with you guys. It was like an academic study that talked about the correlation of different ways of quantifying risk, where they said, if you're using standard deviation as a way to quantify risk, then if somebody is using standard deviation saying, this is my risk metric, I look at this. If somebody else is looking at max drawdown of a strategy and saying, this is my risk, the study said that they're both correlated. A strategy with a high standard deviation will tend to have a high max drawdown. and the other way around. So yeah, so the standard deviation is also a measure of risk in your trading strategy that, hey, I want to keep it as low as possible. A lower standard deviation is better for me. So next. So this is sort of a philosophical take now on trading, right? Now we all want to become volatility traders. We want to trade volatility. We are not looking at indicators. We are not looking at price action. We are not doing any of that stuff, right? We are trying to become volatility traders. That's what professional option traders are. They trade vol for a living. And for us, we are making money by looking at the difference between IV and RV. That is what is driving our PNL, right? Now, we also know that, hey, you get rewarded for risks that you take. So certainly certain risks that reward us, we should take those risks. It's worth taking those risks, right? In general, in risk premia strategies का मतलब ये होता है कि you're taking the risk that somebody else doesn't want to take, and then you expect to be paid for that risk. So in our case, we are taking the risk that the option buyer doesn't want to take, right? So we're like, okay, we'll take that risk from you. We'll charge a premium, which is the volatility risk premium. And what we do then is, once we've taken that position on, once we've taken that risk, we're like, we only want to be exposed to the risk that is paying us. Okay? We don't want to be exposed to any other risk, right? Any risk that you take, you better make sure that there is a compensation associated with it. Otherwise, why the hell else would you take risk? Right? So that is sort of the philosophy behind the way we are trading right now. We want to avoid all other kinds of risks. Okay? Risks that don't pay us, we want to like minimize them as much as we can. But we looked at the Black-Scholes का pricing formula, right? वो हमने देखा था, and उसमें we saw कि the price of an option depends on a bunch of things. इसको तो हमने abstract कर दिया था. We said, चलो यार, in an Indian context, we'll just say, yeah, the future price essentially contains interest rates and dividends embedded inside it. So you're like, just if you use the future price or the synthetic future price, we can ignore the interest rates and dividends. Okay, which we can do. We can do that. But then there's these other three guys. There's the underlying price, right? At the end of the day, the price of the option will move because of this thing changing. This could also be the future price, right? Underlying, जिसको बोलते हैं spot या future, right? So India में everything is standardized to the future. So future instrument जो है. So if these things change, underlying price, time to expiry, and implied volatility, it will affect our PNL. These are implied volatility risk is what we want to take because this is what we are predicting, right? We are predicting क्या realized volatility, implied volatility से कम होएगी. So we're okay with being exposed to IV, but I'm not sure if we are okay being exposed to the underlying price, right? So a vol trader if the vol trader is using options to express their volatility trade, like options are these like really annoying instruments where their price depends on all these different factors. And unfortunately, in order to get paid for that volatility risk, you get all these other risks with you. So you have to figure out a way to manage this risk. There are actually, on a side note, there are structured product positions that you can create which are pure volatility exposure. उनको variance swap कहते हैं. You guys can look that up. These are like big banks. When they want volatility exposure, They may not go into the options markets. They might go to a prop firm or somewhere else, and say, hey, I want to just do a 1-to-1 variance swap with you. Okay, but that's a more advanced topic. You guys can like look that up later on. But in any case, we are stuck. We as retail traders, we are stuck with taking volatility risk, and we have to do it with options. We can't put on these like variance swap positions with other counterparties. Okay, so we are stuck dealing with options. So let's look at the first one here, right? Which is the underlying price. Again, like a very simple question, guys. If I sell a call and the stock goes up, yeah, basic, right? I'm going to lose money. Exactly. So, see, as vol traders, yeah. So as vol traders in our case, we shouldn't care if the stock goes up or down in the long run, at least, right? Because that's how we look at the market. We look at it from the perspective of, man, I don't care कि market ऊपर जाएगी नीचे जाएगी. Long run में मेरा P&L जो drive करेगा is this difference between IV and RV, right? But in the short run, of course, in this case, if this move happens, I'm going to be seeing a negative P&L, right? So the long run is when we look at the Monte Carlo simulator on algo test, we see that I can take 10,000 trades and uska main summary karke le aata hu. But to survive that period of 10,000 trades, you actually have to live through each of those trades, right? So that lived experience is, अरे यार इस ट्रेड में मेरा लॉस लगा, इस ट्रेड में मेरा प्रॉफिट है, इस ट्रेड में मेरा मोटा लॉस लगा. So that is a different lived experience of sorts, right? And how do we avoid that? We want to minimize that loss. Say I don't want that stock exposure. I just want that vol exposure. I want to be exposed to my volatility risk. I don't want to be exposed to these like random movements that happen up and down. I would just want to be exposed to volatility. Because I'm not getting paid to take this stock exposure. I'm not getting paid for that. What I'm getting paid to take volatility exposure. So I want volatility exposure. And one way of removing this stock exposure is by delta hedging. Right? So you guys have all heard of delta hedging, delta neutral, right? Like that's the in fact, there's like meme strategies also underneath it, right? Like delta neutral strategy ho gayi, jisme you just like trimming down your delta as the stock goes down. If Nifty goes down, you'll either, let's say you sold an option, Nifty goes down. Now all of a sudden you're short deltas. So you'll sell a put, Nifty goes up. Sorry, Nifty goes down, you're long deltas. So you'll make an adjustment, Nifty goes up, you'll make an adjustment with the effect being that your delta is reducing, right? So this delta is just telling me, hey, how much is my option position behaving like a stock position? Ideally, you want this number to be 0 at all times, right? Like that's the pure theoretical way of playing this game. You're like, I don't want it to behave like the stock position at all. If the stock goes up, my P&L shouldn't change. If the stock goes down, my P&L shouldn't change. That's what we want. So when someone says, I want to make this position delta neutral, it means they want to flatten this delta to 0. They want to remove this stock exposure, right? So in the last lecture, we actually saw that, we put two positions on together. One position was we sold 2 calls, and the other position was we sold a straddle. We sold a call and a put. And we saw the long-term effect when we ran the simulations, when we ran the 10,000 trades, right? So usme we saw the long-term effect of essentially having a position with delta, right? versus having a position that's delta neutral. So does anyone remember what that effect was? कि एक position में मैंने 2 calls बेची, and in the other side I sold a straddle, the same call, but along with that a put also. So selling 2 calls obviously has a higher delta. And when I ran my simulations, my PNL was the same. My average profit was the same, but something was different. Does anyone remember? Exactly. So my standard deviation from selling the calls was higher, right? And we don't want that. So, so the interesting thing here is, like a delta neutral strategy will have a lower variance, will have a lower standard deviation than a strategy that says, okay, I'll just carry my deltas with me. Let me show you some of my short positions. One I delta hedge today only. Not for this class. I was just like, yeah, ज़्यादा delta accumulate हो रहा है. One sec. So, weirdly enough, all my option punts are making money right now. This is obviously not always going to happen, but it's like one of those rare moments that whatever I'm doing, I'm feeling like a genius. It's not. But there's also times when whatever I do doesn't work. So anyway, so this is, one position I have. इसको क्या हो गया भाई? Yeah. So I showed this to you guys last week as well. I'm just kind of managing this position. And oh shit, I didn't get that bug fixed, man. जो इसको basically strategy builder पे sorry, simulator पे इसको replay करता. Because the bug is, if you guys remember, is this goddamn nifty lot size change, man. I put this position on when the lot size was yeah, basically ये फट जाता है because I put this position on when the lot size was lower, and now it's like broken my software. Sorry. Anyway, let me just see, like, can I see my today's trades in it? Like, will at some point will the PNL, will the graph show up? Let's go. Damn it. Sorry, guys. What I'll do is I'll get this. Abhi kaun si date hai? 10 Jan. I'll get this fixed and I'll show it to you guys. Maybe I'll make like a short video and show it to you guys. It's not showing the damn PNL. That's really irritating. Ek second. But anyway, let me show you my trades from here anyway. So, हाँ, तो आज मैंने क्या ट्रेड्स ली, इसको यार मिनिमाइज करें, जूम इज इरिटेटिंग. अच्छा भाई, तो आज मैंने क्या ट्रेड्स ली, आज मैंने ये ट्रेड ली. लेट्स गो टू द ऑर्डर विंडो. सो आई bought the 23,400 put and I sold the 23,000 put. So let's take a look at this here. ठीक है, तो I was short the 23,400 put also. And that was giving me a pretty large delta. So this is now in the money, right? When I put this position on, this was OTM. This was like deep OTM, the 23,400. It had like a 20 delta or a 30 delta. Okay, but since then the market has gone down, and I've accumulated deltas over here. This thing that I sold, obviously, let's look at the positions tab. 23,400 put. 23,400 put. So obviously I booked a loss in this trade, right? So I sold it at 191 and now I've bought it back at 298, right? But I'm booking this loss because I wanted to like get closer to delta neutral. So even now what you'll see is that my delta is 0.76, which is equivalent to like ये भी फटा पड़ा गया lot size. So this is equivalent to 19 shares. I'm like long 19 shares of Nifty right now. So this strategy is long 19 shares of Nifty. The lot size is 25. I mean, this is a theoretical point, but I'm sort of like the exposure that I have, the delta exposure that I have is I'm long 19 shares of Nifty. So what I did was in the morning, my delta was I think around like 0.95. So I was like, okay, man, I don't want to go too aggressive in hedging my delta to flat. I could have done this, I could have done, chalo yaar, let's close out all my positions. यहाँ पे आके अब मेरा delta हो गया flat. And अब मैं बोलता हूँ चल यार, let's make new positions. Let's just be like, okay, let's go here and let's be okay. Let's sell another 30 delta. Let's sell another 30 delta here. Let's यहाँ पे मेरे 3 लॉट है तो यहाँ पे मैं बोलता चलो ठीक है यार, let's just sell a 20 delta also now. Okay, let me sell a 20 delta. ये बेच दिया मैंने. And be like, okay, now I've like, see, now I'm delta neutral. Now I'm like right in the middle. But I'm like, I can take a little bit of delta risk. Like, so this is a personal decision for me. If you're doing this in an algo or something, you would have a rule here. Interestingly, in the algo world, guys who trade using algos on algo test, right? Your SL, when you're selling an option, your SL is sort of playing that role of a delta, it's getting you to delta neutral. Like it's playing that role of rebalancing. कि चलो भाई, let's get closer to zero delta. ठीक है? So, so basically, like the reason I'm not hedging to flatten to zero delta is because I'm like, ठीक है यार, I can take a little bit of variance. ठीक है, 3 lot की मेरी position है. I'm like, I don't want to pay the broker to trade because that's a pure negative expectation thing, right? Every time I trade, I'm paying the broker, I'm paying exchange, I'm paying Modi ji. I don't want to do that. So I'm like, okay, I can take a little bit of variance, man. Let me roll the dice a little bit. Okay. Back when I used to trade at a desk, right? So in the US, for example, we used to have such large option books with such crazy positions. It was a mandate given to us by the risk managers that you need to flatten your deltas to zero in every position at the end of the day before you go home. Right. So before the market closes, whatever delta would have accumulated in our position, we had to, like, it was given to us as a mandate. Okay, hey, you better freaking become delta neutral before you go, right? Because we don't want that stock exposure. Stupid things could happen to the stock, right? We want just volatility exposure. वहां पे हमारी edge है. That's what we want. So I want to just like show you this effect a little bit more. So in India, what we tend to do is we tend to hedge deltas using using different options, right? It's cheaper to trade options. It's easier to trade options. In SSO, single stock options, you can actually trade the underlying also, right? So Nifty mein to you can't. I mean, the underlying in this case is Nifty futures. So you could technically, if you have a large enough position that your delta fluctuates enough so that you're long like one future or short future, then you can be like, okay, I'll just trade the future instead, right? Instead of trading the options to flatten my delta. But the effect, guys, is exactly the same. It doesn't matter whether you're trading the option or the future. The idea here is the effect of delta is something that it essentially just affects the volatility, the variance of your PNL. Okay, so this is, let me show you this other sheet, which will show you this even better. And I'm getting a tool made for this also so that you can visualize this. Yeah. So basically what I'm answering here is, I'm answering the why. Yeah, why should I be delta hedging? Okay, so you need to understand कि किसी ने बोल दिया डेल्टा न्यूट्रल करना है, नहीं, ये एक ट्रेड ऑफ है, तुमको डिसाइड करना है. ठीक है ना? तुम वेरिएंस उठा सकते हो, नहीं उठा सकते. तेरा 20 लाख का अकाउंट है, तू बोलता है यार मैं एक लॉट में खेल रहा हूँ, मैं उठा लूंगा यार वेरिएंस, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है मेरे को, ये डेल्टा से जो वेरिएंस आती है मैं उठा लूंगा. Maybe you have a smaller account and you're like, no man, I just want to, like, I have a volatility bet, I figured out an edge and I want to just make sure I capture that. Then I'll pay a little bit of extra brokerage, I'll pay a little bit in extra slippages, and I'll just try to manage my deltas a little bit more aggressively, right? So that is a trade-off that you have to determine for yourself. Okay. So I have this like old Excel with a macro in it. इसका मैंने क्या किया? Let me just open this. Let me share this one first. यही करते हैं actually. So यहाँ पे ना what I'm doing is, and I'm going to make a tool of this, so you guys can actually play around with this. ठीक है ना? So here I have this like this is based on the US market. If you guys haven't read, if you guys want, if you guys want to go deeper into option trading, I'll share some resources with you. But Ewan Sinclair is the main guy. He writes a lot for retail traders. Pretty smart dude, US में based है. So anyway, यहाँ पे what I've done is, like I have this like 1 year option. Underlying price is 100 rupees. This is of course US centric. So my IV, what I've done is, chalo bhai, this is my RV, and this is my IV. My IV is 20%, my RV is 30%. And what I can do is I can just, let me just run a simulation. इसको बोलते हैं Ranuda. Why is this not changing? Arey yaar. One sec, guys. Sorry, technical difficulty. So basically, let me just explain to you what's happening over here. I'll open the other file. I think that's a bit more explanatory. So what's happening over here is when I put a position on, right? Change. My computer slow ho gaya. Let me open the other one. One sec. Sorry, guys. Okay. So what I've done here is I've said कि चलो यार मेरा एक 3 month का option है Nifty का. I have 78 days to go. And this is the option price based on the IV, which is 13.6. So I just took a snapshot of Nifty from, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago or so, and I just took the prices here. Okay, so यहाँ पे what I'm doing is I'm buying this particular option. The strike price is 24,050. This is the strike price of the option. Okay, and I bought this option. And here, what I'm doing is I'm behaving like Nifty was a stock. If Nifty was a stock, then I could actually use Nifty, the underlying, to delta hedge. Okay, I'm not going to trade options. I'm just going to trade Nifty, the underlying. So what I did here is I'm like, chalo yaar, my starting delta is 0.52 with a lot size of 75. That becomes 39.08. So if I could trade Nifty the share, I would be like, chalo yaar, I'm going to sell 39.08 shares of Nifty to get delta neutral. Okay? And then what I say is कि I'm not hedging every day. ठीक है? अभी यहाँ पे there were 3 months to expire. एक दिन कम हुआ, एक और दिन कम हुआ, एक और दिन कम हुआ, एक और दिन कम हुआ. So I'm like, okay, on every like 6th day, on every 7th day, on every 8th day, I'll hedge. I'll look at my delta, and then I'll look at my this thing. What my stock position was. I sold 39 shares. Now my delta is 34. So I'm like, chalo yaar, let me buy 4 more shares to become delta neutral, right? यहाँ पे my delta became 7. So I'm like, okay, let me sell 7 shares. So this is just a theoretical exercise. What I'm doing is I'm just neutralizing my delta using the underlying. And यहाँ पे what I've done is I've created sort of a simulation where इसको करते हैं 0. And मुझे बताना, guys, like watch this again if this doesn't make sense, and just let me know what you guys think of this. I'm essentially showing you guys कि यार, the goal of this Excel sheet is to show you कि if I delta hedge every day versus if I delta hedge every 2 days versus if I delta hedge every 3 days वर्सेस इफ आई डेल्टा हेज एवरी 4 days। जो हमारा एल्गो टेस्ट का मोंटे कार्लो सिमुलेटर है, वो तो बोलता है मैं कोई डेल्टा हेज नहीं कर रहा, राइट? व्हेन आई पुट अ पोजीशन ऑन and I say run 10,000 simulations, even in the case of a straddle, I started with 0 delta, but I obviously, as the underlying moved around, I accumulated some deltas, right? So let me run this simulation. Data tools, यहाँ पे होता है view macros. So what I'll do is I'll run like 50 simulations for every hedge. Let's run it. ठीक है, so you guys can see the numbers moving, right? तो अब क्या हो रहा है, यहाँ पे मैं बोल रहा हूँ I'm only going to hedge, I'm going to hedge every day, ठीक है? Every day I'm going to hedge, I'm going to take this trade 50 times, but I'm going to delta hedge every day, and यहाँ पे मेरे individual P&Ls आ रहे हैं फर्स्ट रो में, and मुझको दिखा कि यार मेरे एवरेज P&L था 710 रुपए, and the standard deviation was 4566, right? अब कॉलम ई में क्या हो रहा है, मैं बोल रहा हूँ यार now I'm going to hedge every second day, I'm not going to hedge every day, I'll hedge every second day, ठीक है? सो वो अब आ गया कॉलम जी में। अब यहाँ पे देखो, सी द डिफरेंस बिटवीन कॉलम एफ एंड कॉलम जी। यहाँ पे योर स्टैंडर्ड डिविएशन इज 4566, यहाँ पे इट्स इंक्रीज्ड, इट्स बिकम 7270, right? And the difference between these two is just delta hedging. So as I increase my delta hedging frequency, my average P&L will remain lagbhag same, but what you'll see is that your standard deviation starts increasing more and more and more. Okay, so the only reason you would want to decide to delta hedge is this. You're like, okay, man, in the long run, I don't want this extra exposure. So इसको stop कर देते हैं यार, मेरा लैपटॉप बहुत स्लो हो गया है। Okay, ठीक है, so go back to the slide deck. All right, so traditionally I don't want this, but it's a trade-off that I have to navigate because the market will give me this as the underlying moves around, right? So I actually couldn't show you the Jan 17th wala example because of that bug in the simulator. I'll make sure it gets fixed this time, man, for next week. Yeah, so I've already talked about this, right? Like one major trade-off with delta hedging is this. It's like transaction costs. Again, like let's talk about theory here, right? Option theory mein, if trading were free, है ना, अगर exchange transaction cost नहीं है, brokerage नहीं है, STT नहीं है, if none of this shit exists, and I also don't get adverse selected because of slippages, right? I would hedge every second. I would hedge every infinitesimal microsecond. I would hedge my deltas like there's no tomorrow. Okay, because I don't want that variance. And if I'm right in my IV minus RV, then I can like really lower my variance. I'll still have some variance, you know, but I can really lower it to its theoretical minimum if I could just hedge every second. But real world is, so I have to decide when to hedge. Or if I decide to hedge at all, sometimes I'll just be like, you know what, fuck it, I'll just keep my delta the way it is. I'll just write the variance. Okay. So this is the fundamental principle behind delta hedging. जरूरी नहीं है, but ना करने का एक ट्रेड ऑफ है। अगर नहीं करोगे तो तुम्हारा कॉस्ट है वेरिएंस, अगर करोगे तो तुम्हारी कॉस्ट है ये ट्रांजैक्शन चार्जेस, स्लिपेजेस एक्सेट्रा जो तुम्हें देने पड़ेंगे, ठीक है? अनफॉर्चुनेटली लाइफ में लाइक ट्रेडिंग कुछ फ्री नहीं मिलता भाई, एवरीथिंग इज ट्रेड ऑफ, ठीक है ना? सो वी टॉक्ड अबाउट कि यार डेल्टा चेंज, डेल्टा मार्केट मेरे को देगी, डेल्टा चेंज हो जाता है मेरा, ठीक है? So when you're trading options, this is another sort of shitty thing about trading options. Your risk exposures never stay the same. As things happen in the market, your risk exposures start changing. So this is where this gamma comes in, right? Does anyone have questions about delta? I actually went pretty slow, and I really tried to draw home the point that it's just variance. Cool. No questions. And also let me know, share feedback with me, guys, in the Discord community. में मुझे DM भी कर सकते हो. If I'm going too fast, too slow, stuff like that, right? The second thing is, yeah, Viral is asking delta and IV correlation. Yes, so delta depends on a lot of things, right? Delta can change. Oh, sorry, Shakti. I'm sorry, Shakti. I didn't get a single bit of it. Yeah, sorry, man. I think you have to watch the videos before. To answer Viral ka question, delta and IV की क्या correlation है? तो I'm not going into that because it's a very simple relationship. It's like भाई IV बढ़ता है तो delta ATMs का differently behave करेगा, OTMs का differently behave करेगा. And this is something you can just look up on Wikipedia, right? कि भाई how does my delta change as IV changes? As retail traders, if these are the kinds of positions we are putting on, and for this particular course, I'm just putting on, I'm slapping on this VRP trade, and I'm deciding should I be hedging or not, right? I don't really care what is the correlation between my delta and IV. Okay, it matters. As IV changes, your delta will start changing, and then you'll have to decide whether you want to hedge or not. And there's other things also that more important than IV. More important than IV is this guy, the gamma. So this is the change in delta that comes from the change in the underlying price. As Nifty starts whipping around, when I started with zero delta, so let me show you guys what I mean, right? We'll run a little bit over, but I want to at least cover gamma, man, before the next session. So if anybody is a maths guy over here, right? If you guys remember maths from class 12, तो differentiation अगर तुमको याद होएगा, तो delta is the, याद है किसी को क्या? DDX, that's right, Shakti. So delta is the first partial derivative. It's अगर मेरी stock price है ना, let me actually just write it down over here. एक slide बना के डाल देते हैं यहाँ पे हो गया मेरा maths जो है इसकी वो ये है कि delta is DS by, sorry, DC या DO बोलते हैं इसको, DO by DS. O क्या है मेरी option price? तो rate of change of my option price with respect to the change in the stock price. That is my delta. And then फिर मेरा gamma हो जाता है D2S by D2O by DS squared. This is the second derivative. Second partial derivative. Of course, I'll format this better. But yeah, if you guys remember maths, this is just like a side maths part. कि अगर तुम stock price, अगर तुम call की price को differentiate करोगे with respect to stock price, तो तुम्हें delta मिलेगा. अगर तुम उसको फिर से differentiate करोगे तो तुम्हें option का gamma मिलेगा. Anyway, so gamma की ना theory बहुत है, but what I want to show you is the most practical thing behind gamma for an option trader that you have to worry about is, let me share my screen. Let me share the strategy builder again. तो पहले तो ये दिखाते हैं यार, ये सिनेरियो एनालिसिस जो है ना अपना, स्क्रीन शेयरिंग, शेयर, लेट्स गो. चलो जी, तो ये मेरी शॉर्ट पोजीशन जो चल रही है, इसमें what you guys will see is that I have negative gamma here. Okay. This is my negative gamma. And one consequence of having negative gamma is, let me actually open a brand new position. Okay, let's just open a simple straddle की position बनाते हैं, create new strategy. ये मेरी let's sell a simple straddle. ठीक है, मैंने straddle भेज दी, my delta is very close to neutral and my gamma is negative because I've sold options. So remember guys, when I sell an option, my gamma is negative. When I buy an option, my gamma will be positive. ठीक है, this is important. It's an important thing. Because negative gamma का क्या इफेक्ट होता है? Negative gamma का ये इफेक्ट होता है, गामा क्या है? गामा इज द रेट ऑफ चेंज इन डेल्टा. ठीक है ना, गामा बोलता है कि भाई जब डेल्टा जब अंडरलाइन चेंज हो रही है तो तेरा डेल्टा कैसे चेंज हो रहा है. तो अब देखो, शॉर्ट ऑप्शन को और कहाँ पे मुक्का मुक्का खाना पड़ता है और मुक्का अब्जॉर्ब करना पड़ता है. यहाँ पे अब अगर स्पॉट बढ़ेगा, ठीक है, मान के चलो मैंने शुरू किया थी जब ये पोजीशन मैंने sorry. Hey, sorry guys, मेरा Zoom quit हो गया था. One sec, let me just share my screen again. Okay, so you guys can see my screen. तो basically क्या हुआ देखो, as the underlying went up 1%, मेरा डेल्टा नेगेटिव हो गया. I lost a little bit of money, I sold a straddle and मेरा डेल्टा नेगेटिव हो गया. So think about it this way guys, कि अब मार्केट ऊपर गई है एंड नेगेटिव डेल्टा का क्या मतलब है? अगर हम डेल्टा की डेफिनेशन देखें तो डेल्टा की डेफिनेशन बोलती है कि let's see the definition. How much is my option position behaving like a stock or a future position? ठीक है, that's what my definition of delta says कि यार मेरी जो ऑप्शन की पोजीशन है कितना स्टॉक के जैसे बिहेव कर रही है. एंड दिस इज अ प्रीटी शिटी पोजीशन टू बी इन बिकॉज मार्केट ऊपर गई है एंड मेरी जो ऑप्शन पोजीशन है इट स्टार्टिंग बिहेविंग लाइक अ शॉर्ट पोजीशन. भैया अगर आपने कुछ स्टॉक शॉर्ट कर रखा है, फ्यूचर शॉर्ट कर रखा है और मार्केट ऊपर जाती है, आप पैसे कमाते हो या लूज करते हो? लूज, राइट? तो मार्केट मूवमेंट मेरे लिए अच्छा नहीं है, ये तो हमको पता ही है कि यार हम स्ट्रैडल देखो, पे ऑफ डायग्राम तो हमको बता रहा है ना कि भाई अगर प्राइस वहीं पे थमेगी देन we'll do well, right? That's what the chart is telling us. But this is the reason why you're actually losing money. It's not because of the payoff diagram. It's because your position now has just started behaving like a short position, short stock position. थोड़ा और ऊपर जाएगा, जितना ऊपर जाएगा उतना तुम्हारी और उतनी शॉर्ट पोजीशन होने लग जाएगी. तो जितना ऊपर जाएगा तुम्हें उतनी मार पड़ने लगेगी. एंड इसका उल्टा इफेक्ट है, जब मार्केट नीचे जाएगी तो तुमको मार्केट पॉजिटिव डेल्टा दे देगी. मतलब द मार्केट इज गिविंग यू द पोजीशन दैट यू डोंट वांट व्हेन द अंडरलाइंग इज मूविंग इन दिस वे, राइट? जब मार्केट ऊपर जा रही है तो तुम्हारी जो ऑप्शन पोजीशन है वो शॉर्ट डेल्टा हो रही है. अब जब मार्केट जब नीचे जा रही है तब तुम्हारी पोजीशन जो है वो लॉन्ग डेल्टा हो रही है. प्रिसाइसली द टाइम्स आई डोंट वांट टू बी लॉन्ग, आई एम लॉन्ग. Precisely the times I don't want to be short, I'm short. Right? And this is the negative gamma effect. Basically, negative gamma makes your position behave more like the stock position, which does not want, which you don't want at that time. ठीक है? And इसका फ्लिप साइड आ जाता है ऑप्शन बायर के लिए. ऑप्शन बायर के लिए तो बहुत बढ़िया है यार. ऑप्शन बायर के लिए मार्केट अगर मूव करेगी, अगर ऊपर जाएगी तो योर पोजीशन स्टार्ट बिहेविंग मोर एंड मोर लाइक द स्टॉक. वो हमको चाहिए यार. अगर मार्केट ऊपर जा रही है तो इट्स गुड फॉर अस दैट वी आर लॉन्ग दैट स्टॉक, राइट? और अगर मार्केट नीचे जा रही है देन इट्स गुड फॉर अस कि वी गेट शॉर्टर एंड शॉर्टर, राइट? सो एंड दिस इज प्योरली अ गामा इफेक्ट गाइस. दिस इज व्हाट इज कॉल्ड गामा. This is the effect of gamma. Ki, question in the chat. Yeah, no, that's a really cool point, Tanmoy. Let me just share it with everybody, right? Share it with meeting group chat. तो ये मैंने डिस्कॉर्ड ग्रुप में डाला था, राइट? तो one, in fact, this is part of my slide also, not this exact thing, but let me just open up. So I'll end the discussion with this answer. So let me just go back to this guy. ठीक है, तो अब हमने ये देखा कि यार देखो, मेरी जो लॉन्ग ऑप्शन पोजीशन है, जब मैंने अगर मैंने ऑप्शन बाय कर रखे हैं, तो मेरे पास पॉजिटिव गामा है। पॉजिटिव गामा का मतलब है कि मार्केट नीचे जाएगी तो मेरी ऑप्शन पोजीशन बिकम्स फेवरेबल, जैसे कि मैंने ऑप्शन बेच, जैसे कि मैंने निफ्टी बेच के रखी है। मार्केट ऊपर जाएगी तो मेरी ऑप्शन पोजीशन बन जाती है फेवरेबल, कि मैंने निफ्टी खरीद के रखा है, राइट? सो gamma is always in the favor of the option buyer and it's always against the option seller. Okay, and this is also one of the reasons why that risk premium exists, because market ऊपर जाए नीचे जाए, मुक्का तो option seller को ही पड़ रहा है। and उसके लिए, like, besides the volatility risk premium, this is also one of those reasons why the option seller expects this extra bit of compensation, right? Most of the times this, or like in theory, the compensation for gamma is given by theta. That I'm going to go into that in the next session. Abhi, I just want to keep it to delta and gamma. And let me explain this point in the chat, right? Okay, one reason why expiries are more volatile has to do with the fact that gamma is highest for options that are just about to expire. So ab dekho guys, jitne the farther out you trade, right? So one reason why if you see all these trades, right? All these trades that I've put only for the benefit of this class, all of these have been like I put these trades on where when the option was very far away to expiry. So अगर ये वाला देखते हैं, जो मेरी strangle position है, जो अभी तो of course it's the Jan expiry, right? But when I actually put this position on was, कब डाली थी? 10th December. So 10th December means it had like a good 40 days to expiry, right? 50 days to expiry essentially. 10th December. So the first trade that I put on was on 10th December, if I am getting this right. Yep, 10 December. Exactly, right? So one of the reasons I traded so far out, 50 days to go. See, we are all interested in trading 0DT. सबसे ज़्यादा action वहाँ पे है, right? But the way the gamma works is that as you go farther out in time, your gamma gets lower and lower and lower. Okay, and as you get nearer and nearer to expiry, your gamma starts increasing. ठीक है, so अगर तुम 0DT ट्रेड कर रहे हो तो तुम्हारा gamma risk बहुत high है. Let me just show it to you over here also, right? नई strategy बनाते हैं, बोलते हैं चलो यार, let's compare the gamma of two particular options. ये मेरा 6 days to go, ये मैंने बेचा, तो मेरा गामा है लॉट साइज से -0.0719, ठीक है? और अब मैं बोलता हूँ फेब वाला उठाते हैं जस्ट फॉर लाइक कंप्लीटनेस सेक, एंड इसको मैं अगर मैं बाय कर लेता हूँ तो अभी भी मेरा गामा नेगेटिव है, ठीक है? तो यहाँ पे आके देखेंगे अगर हम Greeks में. So what you see is, guys, that the Jan option has a much higher gamma in absolute value. आप इसको भी सेल कर देते हैं, दोनों मैंने सेल करे हैं. तो यहाँ पे देखोगे the Jan option has a much higher gamma than the Feb option. ठीक है. So this is the closer to expiry you trade, the more gamma risk you're going to have. ठीक है. The more your position is vulnerable to fluctuations in the underlying price. ठीक है. And जैसे जैसे मेरा 0 DT आता तो मेरा गामा बहुत क्रेजी हो जाता. अब तुम खुद सोचो. सो Tanmoy, think about it this way, that it's calling. My wife is calling. Just give me 1 sec, guys. Still at the office. Yeah, sorry, wife is like, घर आओ भाई, 8:30 हो गए. Anyway, तो अब क्या है ना, let me see if I can like explain this. How do I make it? हाँ, so okay, so let me explain this. अब इसमें let's do this. So let's say कि यार we are delta hedging. ठीक है ना, let's say we are delta hedging. इसको क्लियर कर देते हैं. मैंने यार ये straddle खरीदा. Then this is a cool point. It's a side effect of delta hedging. So मैंने ये straddle खरीदा and एकदम से let's reset this. So I bought this straddle and right at the outset, let's say the market went down 10%. ठीक है. So now it's showing me an M2M of, so market went down 10% and it's showing me a delta of -1. So let's say I use the future to delta hedge this time. ठीक है ना. So what I'll do is I'll end up buying the future at 20,883. ठीक है. Once I buy the future at 20,883, let's do this. Of course, the price here will be wrong, but कर लेते हैं buy. अब देखो मेरा डेल्टा न्यूट्रल हो गया. ठीक है. अब मेरे को दिखा रहा है कि चलो okay guys, my delta is now flat. Right now, what will happen is, let's say some crazy event happened जिसकी वजह से market went down 10%, and then अगले दिन पता लगा यार that event was bullshit and market rallied back. ठीक है, to 0%. So this PNL is of course wrong. What I've done is, guys, if you look at this here, we just bought the future यहाँ पे, like it's not meant for scenario analysis, but anyway, so let's write it down. I put it down in chat. ठीक है ना. Market went down by 10%. We didn't trade anything in the options. We are just like, okay, I'll just buy a future, and I bought the future at 2883. Now I'm delta neutral, right? So let's go over here. I'll just put it over here. So 2883 पे मैंने एक फ्यूचर खरीदा एंड मैं अब डेल्टा न्यूट्रल हो गया. मैंने अपनी ऑप्शन पोजीशन क्लोज नहीं करी है. ठीक है. नाउ लेट्स से कि दैट नेगेटिव न्यूज वाज लाइक एक्चुअली ह्यूजली पॉजिटिव एंड मार्केट वेंट अप नाउ. ठीक है. सो उस टाइम पे मैंने फ्यूचर खरीद के अपने आप को डेल्टा न्यूट्रल कर दिया था. नाउ ऑल ऑफ अ सडन आई एम लॉन्ग डेल्टास एंड आई वांट टू बी डेल्टा न्यूट्रल अगेन. तो मैं बोलूंगा अच्छा चलो ठीक है यार, नाउ आई हैव टू सेल वन फ्यूचर टू बिकम डेल्टा न्यूट्रल. राइट नाउ एज आई सेल दिस फ्यूचर 25408 इस प्राइस पे मैंने बेचा. तो मैंने क्या किया, मैंने ऑप्शन पोजीशन को छुआ ही नहीं अभी. मैं बस डेल्टा हेजिंग कर रहा हूं. डेल्टा हेजिंग करते ही मैंने 2883 पे बाय किया एंड 25408 पे सेल किया. सो आई मेड सम मनी हियर, राइट? right? You guys see that, right? Yes, no. Exactly, right? And what am I doing? I'm just hedging my delta, right? So this is an interesting thing about delta hedging when you're, and let's say I was short options. If I was short options and I was delta hedging, then I would have lost uh, actually not 600 points, buddy. This is 20,000 2883 में मैंने खरीदा and 2540 मतलब 5,000 points, 4,000 points I've captured here, right? So and just to get me delta neutral. So this is something that option buyers when when there's a big change in the underlying, right? And as a result, your delta changes. Naturally, if the market goes up, you'll make if the market goes up, your long delta. So delta hedging and option buying position always gets you to buy low, sell high, buy low, sell high, buy low, sell high. तो इसको गामा स्कैल्पिंग बोलते हैं. एंड अगर तुम डेल्टा हेजिंग कर रहे हो लॉन्ग ऑप्शन पोजीशन के साथ, तो you're essentially capturing, you're always capturing that buy low, sell high, buy low, sell high. एंड अगर आप डेल्टा हेजिंग कर रहे हो एज एन ऑप्शन सेलर, राइट, तो उस केस में इट्स द ऑपोजिट. You're buying high, selling low, buying high, selling low. Every trade that you're taking is actually making a loss for you. The act of delta hedging, right? So what I meant over there was, जब अब ये मान के चलो कि जब मैंने तो एग्जांपल लिया 41 डेज टू एक्सपायरी का, ठीक है. अब हम चलते हैं, सेम सिचुएशन हम करते हैं 6 डेज टू एक्सपायरी में, ठीक है. इसको क्लियर कर देते हैं सब कुछ को एंड बोलते हैं चल यार मैंने 6 डेज टू एक्सपायरी का ऑप्शन ले लिया. इसको रीसेट करते हैं, ठीक है. अब बोलते हैं चल यार सिनेरियो एनालिसिस करके मार्केट गई नीचे 10%, मेरा पीएनएल है ज्यादा. आई गेस लाइक दिस एग्जाम्पल इजंट अ वेरी गुड वन बिकॉज 10 के बियॉन्ड जा नहीं रहा ये. बट इन एनी केस, the point I'm trying to illustrate is because you have more gamma if you are closer to expiry, and I'll explain this point a little bit better next time with like the right kind of simulation. But the point is, because you have more gamma close to expiry, you have that higher gamma risk as an option seller, and as an option buyer you want to hedge more often. ठीक है, 10 मिनट रह गए एक्सपायरी में. अगर 10 मिनट रह गए एक्सपायरी में एंड लेट्स से 2200 23,200 इज माय अंडरलाइंग प्राइस, ठीक है. अब एकदम से 10 पॉइंट अगर नीचे जाएगी मार्केट एंड लेट्स से आई एम लॉन्ग दिस स्ट्रैडल, सो लेट्स से आई एम लॉन्ग दिस 23,200 स्ट्रैडल, एंड आई थिंक लाइक I'll express this idea a little bit better next time. We're also running out of time. But the point here is कि भाई 23,200 में मैंने खरीद लिया माल, मार्केट नीचे जाएगी, मैं गामा स्कैल्प करूंगा, मैं बाय करूंगा, मार्केट ऊपर जाएगी मैं सेल करूंगा एंड उसको मैं कैप्चर करूंगा. बट अगर आज एक्सपायरी है, इट्स लाइक लिटरली 5 मिनट्स आर लेफ्ट टू गो और लेट्स से लाइक 1 आवर इज लेफ्ट टू गो, ठीक है, एंड द मार्केट इज अराउंड 23,200. तो जैसे ही as soon as the stock goes down, my put becomes deep in the money. It becomes -1 again because time to expiry is so low. My gamma is really high. I'll explain this. Does that make sense, guys? Or like I'll explain it a little bit better next time. Sure. ये तो see, well, this is like a theoretical thing, ठीक है ना. This lesson, the idea here is I want to show you कि भाई there is delta, there is gamma, and delta is changed. Your delta takes the shape that is driven by the gamma. And gamma कैसे ड्राइव होता है वो भाई आपको पता है कि यार अगर आप लॉन्ग हो तो आप पॉजिटिव गामा हो, मार्केट मूव आपके फेवर में करेगी, लाइक इट विल हेल्प यू. एंड इफ यू शॉर्ट गामा, मार्केट मूव विल हर्ट यू. So that's something you have to keep track of when you're trading options with a volatility lens. So we want volatility exposure, we don't want delta exposure, but unfortunately gamma exposure हमको लेना पड़ेगा क्योंकि आप ऑप्शन खरीदते हो तो हम लॉन्ग गामा हो जाते हो, ऑप्शन बेचते हो तो आप शॉर्ट गामा हो जाते हो. उस गामा की वजह से हमको डेल्टा मिलता है और डेल्टा को हम न्यूट्रलाइज कर सकते हैं. ठीक है. सो these are the two risks that we've talked about, the delta risk and the gamma risk. We'll look at this delta and gamma risk more in the next class, because that's actually something that we should, it's a trade-off for us. If you want more gamma risk, you'll make more money in theta. And this is a teaser for next time. Okay? If you want more gamma risk, you'll make more money in theta. And for that, you'll have to trade closer to 0 DT. But if you want less gamma risk, you'll be like, आपका theta कम होएगा, you'll earn less money in theta, but you'll have a higher volatility exposure. So जितनी दूर का आप ऑप्शन ट्रेड करते हो उतना हाई आपका वॉल एक्सपोजर होता है. जितनी पास का आप ऑप्शन ट्रेड करते हो उतना हाई आपका गामा एक्सपोजर होता है, उतना कम आपका वॉल एक्सपोजर होता है. ठीक है. So we'll discuss this next class, guys. Yeah, so exactly right, Ton. Nifty 50 is listed. If market movers buy or sell the stock, Nifty moves, the Nifty moves, the option price move. हाँ, मुर्गी पहले आई अंडा पहले आया, right? Like Nifty moves, option price move, stocks move करते हैं. These are like very good questions, guys. Very, very good questions. We'll cover a lot of this. Let's finish the theory part next week. ठीक है? And then उसके week, the following week, let's actually put some trades on. The trade I wanted to show you guys today that I didn't get time to, where you guys can see my screen, right? Where I can't get out of that damn trade is this one. फंस गया हूं मैं इसमें यार. I had bought this. I'm like, the lot size has changed, so I'm like long 0.67 lots and I can't get out. So traditionally I would exit this trade. ये जो मेरी शॉर्ट ट्रेड है, मैं इस टाइम पे एग्जिट कर जाता. ठीक है ना. इसका रीजन ये है कि मेरा ये गामा रिस्क में क्रिएट हो रहा है, बिकॉज इट्स लाइक जैन एक्सपायरी है. तो यूजली आई वुड एग्जिट दिस, बट आई एम जस्ट कीपिंग दिस ऑन बिकॉज मैं ये एग्जिट ही नहीं कर पा रहा. ये जो मेरी लॉन्ग वेगा है, बिकॉज ऑफ दिस लाइक लॉट साइज चेंज उन्होंने कर दिया है. एंड दिस इज ऑल्सो वन ऑफ द रियलिटीज ऑफ ट्रेडिंग. सेबी जी ने एनएसई को बोला, एनएसई ने लॉट साइज तो चेंज कर दिया, बट अब मैं कुछ कर ही नहीं सकता. सो this is one of the risks that I was not anticipating when I put this position on. But I'm comfortable because, like एक दो lot है, I'm okay with that, right? So this is also like one of those weird things that you need to think about. I never realized I need to think about this before I started taking in India. It's like one of those it happens only in India moments. Chalo guys. Yeah. Chalo guys, I'm gonna end this session. I hope feedback share करना guys मेरे साथ. All feedback is good feedback. Awesome guys, awesome. Mahadev, does forecast important? इसको यार उसमें रखो, क्या कहते हैं, put it in Discord. I'll answer in Discord. चलो great guys, watch this again. You like I had to like, मुझे तो बहुत टाइम लगा था इन कॉन्सेप्ट को सीखने में, समझने में, internalize करने में. So it's not going to be a one day thing, right? Read up on this. I can share some book recommendations with you also if you really want to go into this deep. I've tried to just keep it very, very simple. So I'm not trying to be very technical over here also. Mahadev, like there are videos on the Discord. The first 6 sessions are all in Discord. Okay, and I'm going to, like, after I stop this session, I'll share I'll share a link to this as well. Okay, all lessons are recorded, and yeah, and I'm happy to answer questions in Discord as well. Chalo, bye guys. See you.